Alcatraz versus Evil Librarians. I believe it's chapter 10 at this point. Yes, and page 153. So, I reached into my pocket, pulling out the smaller hourglass Grandpa Smedley had given me. Look, Bastille, I said, holding it up before her. We only have a half hour until this place gets filled with librarians back from patrolling. If that happens, we'll get caught, and those sands will fall permanently into librarian hands. We don't have time to go poking around, looking in random doors. This place is way too big. There's only one way to find what we need. The Doc Oculator might not even have the sands with him, Bastille said. Perhaps, I said, but he might know where to find them, or he might lead us to them. We at least have to try to follow him. It's our best lead. Bastille nodded reluctantly. Don't try to fight him, though. I won't, I said. Don't worry. It'll be all right. And if you believe that, then I have a bridge to sell you. On the moon. To my credit, I didn't really want to face down a Dark Oculator. I was half hoping that Bastille would talk me out of the decision. Usually when I tried to do reckless things, there'd been adults around to stop me. But things are different now. By some act of fortune, perhaps even more strange than the appearance of talking dinosaurs and evil librarians, I was in charge. And people listened to me. I was realizing that if I chose poorly, I'd not only get myself into trouble, but I might end up getting Bastille and staying hurt as well. It was a sobering thought. My life was changing, and so my view of myself had to change as well. You might think I was turning into a hero. However, the truth is that I was just setting myself up for an even greater fall. We'll stay out of sight, I said. Eavesdrop, and hope the Doc Oculator mentions where the sands are. Our goal is not to fight him. At the first sign of trouble, or in Singh's case tripping, we'll back out. All right? Bastille and Singh nodded. Then I turned. The yellowish footprints were still there. A little more cautious, I followed them down the hallway. We passed a couple more archways set with solid wooden doors, but the footprints didn't lead into any of them. The hallway led deeper and deeper into the library. Why build a library that looks like a castle inside? I thought, passing an ornate lantern bracket shaped like a cantaloupe. The lantern atop it burned a large flame, and despite the tense situation, something occurred to me. Fire, I said as we walked. What? Bastille asked. You can't tell me that those lanterns are more advanced than electric lights. You're still worried about that? I shrugged as we paused at an intersection, and Bastille peeked around it, then waved the all clear. They just don't seem very practical to me, I whispered. As we started again, you can turn electric lights on and off with a switch. You can do that with these too, Bastille said, except without the switch. I frowned. Okay. Besides, Bastille whispered, you can light things on fire with these lamps. Can you do that with electric ones? Well, not most of them, I said, pointing as the footprints turned down a side corridor. But that's sort of the idea. Open flames like that can burn things down. I couldn't see because of the sunglasses, but I had the distinct impression that Bastille was rolling her eyes at me. They only burn things if you want them to, Smedley. How does that work? I whispered, frowning. Look, do we have time for this? Bastille asked. Actually, no, I said. Look up there. I pointed ahead toward a palace, or to a place where the hallway opened into a large room. This diversion was actually quite fortunate for Bastille, for it meant that she didn't have to explain how cinematic lanterns work, something I now know that she couldn't have done anyway. Not that I'd point out her ignorance to her directly. She tends to start swinging handbags whenever I do things like that. Bastille went up the hallway first. Despite myself, I was impressed by her stealth as she crept forward, close to the wall. The room ahead was far better lit than the hallway, and her movements threw shadows back along the walls. After reaching the place where the hallway opened into the room, she waved Singh and me forward. I realized that I could hear voices up ahead. I approached as quietly as possible, creeping up next to Bastille. There was a quiet clink as Singh huddled beside us, setting down his gym bag. Bastille shot him a harsh look, and he shrugged apologetically. The room at the end of the corridor was actually a large, three-story entryway. It was circular, and our corridor opened up onto a second-story balcony overlooking the main floor down below. The footprints turned and wound around a set of stairs leading down. We inched forward to the edge of the balcony and looked down upon the people I had tracked. One of them was indeed a person I knew. It was a person I had known for my entire life, Miss Fletcher. It made sense. After all, Grandpa Smedley had said that she'd been the one to steal the sands from my room. The idea had seemed silly to me at the time, but then a lot of things had been confusing to me back then. I could now see that he must have been right. And yet it seemed so odd to see a person from my regular life in the middle of the library. Miss Fletcher wasn't a friend, but she was one of the few constants in my life. She had directed my moves from foster family to foster family, always checking in on me, looking after me, spying on me. Miss Fletcher still wore her unflattering black skirt, tight bun, and horn-rimmed glasses. She stood next to a hefty man in a dark business suit with a black shirt and a red power tie. As he turned, conversing with Miss Fletcher, I could see that he wore a patch over one eye. The other eye held a red-tinted monocle. Bastille breathed in sharply. What? I asked quietly. He only has one eye, she said. I think that's Radrian Blackburn. He's a very powerful oculator, Alcatraz. They say he put out his own eye to increase the power focused to a single remaining one. I frowned. Blackburn, I whispered. That's an interesting name. It's a mountain, Bastille said. I think in the state you call Alaska. Librarians named mountains after themselves, just like they name prisons after us. I cocked my head. I'm pretty sure that Alcatraz Island is older than I am, Bastille. You were named after someone, Alcatraz, Singh said, crawling up next to us. A famous oculator from long ago. Among people from our world and among our opponents, names tend to get reused. We're traditional that way. I leaned forward. Blackburn didn't look all that threatening. True, he had an arrogant voice and seemed a bit imposing in his black-on-black suit. Still, I had expected something more dramatic. A cape, maybe. I was, of course, missing something very important. You'll see in a moment. Beside me, Bastille looked very nervous. I could see her pulling her purse up, reaching one hand inside of it. An odd gesture, I thought, since I doubted there was anything inside that purse that could face down a dark oculator. Anyway, the voices from below quickly stole my attention. I could just barely hear what Blackburn was saying. You hadn't scared him off last night, the oculator said. We wouldn't be in this predicament. Miss Fletcher folded her arms. I brought you the sands, Radrian. That's what you wanted. Blackburn shook his head, hands clasped behind his back. He began to stroll in a slow circle, his well-polished shoes clicking on the stones below. You're supposed to watch over the boy, he said, not just collect the sands. This is sloppy, Shasta, very sloppy. What possessed you to send a regular thug to collect the child? Miss Fletcher sent the gunman? I thought with a stab of anger. She really was working for them all this time. Let me just get over here. Yeah. So, page 160 is where we're going to leave off. Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, page 160 on the next episode.